Welcome back, everyone, to the StarLadder and iLeague Star Series Season 3. Today, we're casting the last matches of the round-robin phase. We're onwards to the last chance qualifier that's going to be happening tomorrow to determine which of the players who've been playing in the event are going to make it to the live finals. So that's a lot of tension really on the board still. We saw Sixo right now just lose to Ties by a tiny iota. And as a result of that, his chances to progress are not guaranteed. So next up is going to be Pavel versus StanCifka, which will determine mostly Pavel's fate, I believe, and Kalento's fate in Group B, which, Pavel and Kalento are kind of fighting for that last spot. If Pavel wins, he ends up moving through. And if he ends up losing, then Kalento is going to stay fourth. So Pavel has a chance to make it regardless. StanCifka is going to be locked in no matter what, still going to do his best to troll and beat the world champion that we had. And then as the last match of the day, we'll have Bunny Hopper versus Orange, which could determine Sixo's fate, as Orange, if he ends up winning, will be... if Bunny Hopper ends up winning, might determine the ranking for Sixo. So it's a big mess. It's a tiebreaker mess of the last portion of a round robin. A lot of stake for the players.
Definitely, it's kind of a mess, so we'll see how it goes. But the first three placements of both groups are determined. So just to remind you guys, Naiman and Neiria from Group A are advancing directly to the LAN finals in Kiev. From Group B, RDU and StarSeries have the same fate. And Heis and Zale will be playing in the last call tournament. Well, last chance, let's call it like that. And then it's all about Xixo or Bunny Hopper, Kolento or Pavel that will join Zale and Heis in that tournament.
Pavel on the top wire, Jade Druid, Discover Mage. Typical lineup for control-based players or control-oriented players. StanCifka with the Purify Priest, the mid-range Jade Shaman with some elementals sprinkled in for good measure, and the mid-range Paladin. Both players sporting a mid-rangey approach to the game, and that's mostly true for StanCifka. Pavel's still erring more on the control side with the Druid and the Taunt Warrior, and StanCifka with that Purify Priest, I would say, has a very good shot at just rolling all over this Druid. In fact, I would say the three decks for StanCifka, barring maybe the Shaman, have a super good shot. And even in the Shaman, it's not that close. Just 3-0ing that Druid. It's a pretty weak deck for Pavel here.
Yep, that's true. Can't wait, though, to see the Priest from StanCifka. Just can't wait to see more of that delicious Priest Purified decks that we have seen for the past weeks in the StarLadder Series Season 3, brought to you by iLeague.
That's it done.
And
who've been playing Purify Priest? We had Cifka and JJ, I believe, right?
yes, on those two. Oh, here we go!
Right off the bat. All right, fair enough. That's my type of gameplay. So this is Burn Mage against Purify Priest, which is actually not that favored for the Purify Priest. The other two matchups were, a little bit better for him. So StanCifka queuing up with the Priest has a 66% chance to blindly stumble upon a great matchup. Now finds itself in a more even spot, so this is not a guaranteed win. In fact, this could be Pavel's, opening with that Mage deck. No, he's gonna need another Polymorph. Or a Freeze effect with Shatter to kill a Humongous. That could be nuts.
Well, that's kind of okay. I mean, you will have to sacrifice your Frostbolt to do that. But I guess it's fine.
Cabal Courier comes out, and now we see Shadow Word Death. Extremely good card if you're able to snipe off some of those big minions. Sometimes they're not 32-32s. Sometimes they're just, 8-8s or 16-16s. Oh,
sometimes they
gracious.
don't kill you in one strike.
Well, they just might now. All we're looking for if we're StanCifka is that inner fire, and we've got it. We just got it. If he goes for the Humongous Razor Leaf, he's exposing himself, of course, to a Fireball plus trade play with the 2-2, which clearly does not feel good. So I would not be surprised if he just held back and played, one of his other 3 drops. In this case, Star Creeper or Acolyte of Pain.
I really like that. That's putting the biggest possible minion this turn, and actually baits out the Fireball anyway. Really well done.
That was what he was hoping for, and he even gets to keep the minion for the next turn with Powered Shield. So now, suddenly he can opt to play it a bit slower. As long as he can, whenever he finds Inner Fire, I think he's just gonna lock the game out instantly. As long as he doesn't get frozen into a Shatter.
Mirror Entity. Swain Strike doesn't really do much here as well, and Mana Bind, the spells are not really something you would like to see on your own. Huh.
Honestly, you know what? That Acolyte could do the trick here if you just pick up...
Exactly what I wanted to say. That Acolyte,
oh my god! Are you kidding?
That Acolyte of Pain might be the game. He's already at 1-5, right? So it might be 1-8, 1-10. That means it can be...
It's GG, it's 32 damage.
It can be GG next turn. If StanCifka goes for the Talon Priest with the heal this turn.
Why wouldn't he though? Like, you're setting up a one-turn lethal. I mean, I guess there's a world where he plays Ice Block and then you just pop the block at like 30.
That's the only problem with this deck.
But even then, they'd have to get a polymorph on the back end to really make anything happen.
Or the Shadow Ward Death, but you can't really anticipate that.
Yeah, you really can't play around Shadow Ward Death plus Ice Block, I think. So I would definitely see the heal plus Talon Priest. To be fair, though, you know what's crazy is that Cifka would be able to get the Acolyte, buff it up, then Faceless Shambler it, you know, over a few turns if he plays it slower, like he's doing it now. He can just, like, play slowly and set up a turn where he gets to make one big guy, and insurance against a removal would be Faceless Shambler.
Alright, now StanCifka doesn't know if it's an Ice Block or something else. I mean, if that will get played. And Pavel actually wanted to get that Ice Block. So this is the reason why he played the Arcane Intellect first.
StanCifka can still bait the counterspell with a Powered Shield on the Acolyte of Pain here if he wants to, see what's up. And if it turns out to be either of these things... So there's lethal on board. StanCifka just doesn't know it.
Yeah. And obviously you just can't risk it.
Yeah. You could try to silence and see what's up.
I mean, you can actually risk it. Because, well, mages don't have options to kill a 30-30 minion, right? But the Cobblestone actually gives you some outs.
It looks like StanCifka might be lining up the lethal here. Spreading himself, you know, on two sides. If there's a removal for the Acolyte, then he keeps a 4-8.
Well, it's basically 17... No, he can only attack with one, right? So he goes with both Divine Spirits on one minion. Okay.
Yep.
I was just thinking if there's... Yeah, sorry. I was just thinking if he can spread the damage evenly into 2 minions, but that's not possible. But the first game took exactly 7 minutes.
Honestly, I really like the StanCifka's decision here. If he pops the block, he pops it at 2. That was just beautifully spread damage output with that Purify Priest, locking the game out early.
Definitely well done by Stanis of Cifka.
Stanis of Cifka. Seems good. So, Emperor Cifka is going to bring out what next, is a question. What's he targeting?
No clue. But you know what's funny? Every single time we have watched Purify Priest, something like this happened.
I mean, we've had StanCifka get completely blown out. I played, when I cast with Firebat, those Purify Priests were just getting farmed by aggro. But against the slower lineups, they just go off. They just do it no matter what. The control decks are too slow. They're just not putting enough pressure. I thought Pavel had a hand that could lead to a win. You know, if he picks up a freeze, then he kills a big minion. But a cautious Purify player will just wait until the right moment and just unleash all the damage at once so that you can't even kill or respond to what they're doing.
Yep. Alright, well, turn 1 Inquisitor, always something you would like to see because it sets up a better Wall Eater or the Megazord as soon as possible. So definitely a good opener for Stanislav, but at the same time having to look at a mana worm doesn't really make you happy. This is a minion you can't really remove with ease.
It's pretty tough for Paladin. It's actually the biggest challenge minion. So, like, one of the biggest issues here that StanCifka is considering is if without a War Leader, he cannot get rid of this easily. And Pavel on the other side knows exactly that and is going to basically force StanCifka to have that, use up the coin just for the sake of getting tempo. And he knows full well that there's nothing on this turn that will challenge the Mana Worm on its own. If he plays a 3-drop for 3/3 tempo, then Ice Block comes out, barring exactly the Aldor Peacekeeper. this would lead nowhere. And suddenly Pavel's just looking like he's in a great spot.
I like the decision of just using the hero power in turn 3. By doing that, you actually know if your opponent has a True Silver champion or not. And in this case, you actually can just buff your Metaverm to the state that it trades up with everything that your opponent will play. So
yeah.
Fantastically done by Pavel.
Does not pick up, however, a cheap spell to use the Mana Worm. So
I didn't even see the other options. Did you see other options?
No, it came out too quick. Came out way too quick. These guys have been playing super quick this game. Cifka definitely going to opt for that Consecration, I think. I don't really see if like a play that looks more appealing, unless you're looking to buff that 5/4. But, I mean, no.
No. This is just strokey better.
This is much too appealing. And suddenly, Pavel finds himself, finally, slightly, and I say slightly, in an awkward spot. Well, do you ever still ice block? Because you really don't want him to get the Spark Steed value. Oh my god.
Oh my. This has to be.
Did it again.
This has to be one of the best Kabbalist tome I have ever witnessed.
It is ridiculously good against what StanCifka is doing. That polymorph is gonna make him salt up for days. Although I'm pretty sure he's gonna get over it really quickly. Yeah, that is still completely nuts.
Man.
Look at that.
No reaction from Stan. It was just like, I'm gonna eat this banana.
Look at a small smirk.
And Pavel plays around the second buff by killing the minion.
I think I know why he's never getting salty. All that potassium in the banana, man. It's just a perfect counter. Yeah. It makes sense, right? No salt when you just eat potassium all day. Sodium doesn't affect you. All right. Pavel with a handful of stuff. Again, finds himself in the ability to be proactive if he so desires. With 3 ice block. Honestly, I don't know when Cifka is going to find a way to kill Pavel. That's my bigger worry right now for StanCifka, is when do you kill that guy?
Not only that, but Pavel has actually delayed game as well.
Right.
He has Medivh already, Alexstrasza as well. He can set up, this is so perfect, he can set up both secrets now on turn 7 with a Manaverm. That is literally the best possible play here, and it goes into a turn 8 Medivh if needed, of course. That depends on what will StanCifka do, but it sets up so nicely.
Meritity will give a 2/2 to Pavel, which is not really a problem for Cifka, but it delayed his, potential stronger cards if he had them, right? Which is what Pavel was aiming at doing here. Cifka does find a very good Murloc, a good array of Murlocs to go forward into the next few turns, so wouldn't be surprised to see him just opt for the Megasaur-ish line. There's a Blessing of Kings. Looks pretty cute. You get to push damage, but I think setting up that Megasaur is just better.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll get away Kodoing, I guess, then. That's where this is headed.
Well, with the Getaway Kodo, he has actually beneficial minions every single time. So I guess that makes sense.
Even in the event that the Hydrologist or Rockpool Hunter dies, he still gets something that he is overall happy about.
So now, will Pavel get a Flame Strike out of Babylon Book?
Oh god. No. No. No.
Yes. Yes.
Plays one in this deck.
Yes.
Oh my god. No.
It can be a Flame Strike, unfortunately.
It was not. Okay, it could have been, but it was not. There is justice still in this world. It was still a good book.
Excuse me.
By all accounts, it was still a pretty good book.
I would say it's kind of incredible that when you get a glyph. I think it's better than any other outcome. Because it gets you... I mean, unless you get the perfect answer that you needed for that turn. But if it gets you just a glyph, you just get multiple books out of one book.
That's right. You get to basically pick the spell that you get out of it. It's like Battlecry, choose a spell, and well, discover a spell that is, and then reduce its cost. So in this case, Pavel was still finding a way to defuse the Murloc bomb that was headed his way. StanCifka had been setting it up very cautiously last turn. Pavel saw it coming, just used all the spells on it. Thanks to this little babbling book, the Frostbolt came in extremely handy.
As usual, we have seen this today with Orange.
That polymorph, man. I go back to that Kabbalist Tome from the initial glyph. Tome from glyph gives polymorph to defuse Spiker Steed. That was a big swing turn. StanCifka got a 7-10 on the board. That was nuts. Don't know where Pavel would be right now. We see the Ground Sheet Protector picked up.
I mean, he basically what he did with that polymorph. He destroyed a, well, let's say like that, 9/16 minion. I know it's not the same.
It's kind of, it was actually better than that because there was simply no answer to a 7-10 on the board. I'm sorry, to a 8-10 on the board, right? It was 7-10, right?
Yeah, it was 7.
7-10 is just completely unkillable for Mage.
Pavel has 6 damage so far, so not really that much. But it allows to set up a plan, and StanCifka now needs to play around that plan. Even when there's no execution of that plan, StanCifka still needs to think about it. So he needs to, and in this case, when he doesn't have any way of healing, he needs to set up a lethal as soon as possible, if that's even possible right now, to deal 15 damage. 3, 8.
He's gonna be 2 off, I think, no matter what.
9 and 13. Yeah, there's no way unless you go for, no. If you get a War Leader, it's exactly the same because he only has 2 Murlocs. So there's no way of popping the block this turn.
So Equality Kings is definitely looking kind of okay. Equality plus Grime Street isn't even half as bad as it initially seems. So you're able to protect some high-value minions, perhaps.
What he can also do is just play Primordial Drake this turn.
After pushing some damage.
Yeah.
I don't know, I like the ability to put Divine Shield on my guys against Mage, so that lets him push like a 2-turn block pop.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
and
that was...
puts down a taunt for what it's worth.
I'm not saying it was the best option, I'm just saying it's an option.
Yeah, it wasn't...
But the Protector was still better.
So when do you even extract value from that Drake, right? Like you'd need double Apprentice to find anything to do with it. So there aren't, you're mostly going to be playing it for a 4/8 body that sticks around at some point, like as a refill option probably, with like some mild upside of killing maybe a stray Apprentice.
Someday I'll be just like you.
All right, so Pavel's on the burn plan. He's not wrong. There's very little that can stop him here.
Burgly Bully? Fortunately it dies on board. But then it would allow... No, what am I talking about? It wouldn't allow anything.
You could get a Wisp from that Medivh.
Fantastic.
And then a 3-drop.
I mean, Pavel has at least 3 draws.
To close the game out, yeah. And one of those is a glyph, I believe. Because the second glyph you got was from Babbling Book. So there's a glyph, there's a Frostbolt number. Actually, there's 2 Frostbolts in the deck naturally, I believe.
Yeah,
only one of them was
one Fireball was played, so this is the second one. Second Firelands Portal.
The Pyroblast.
Yeah.
You guys got a deck full of stuff that kills, basically. Yeah, StanCifka is just gonna have to eventually go on some form of an all-in plan. Realizes giving the coins does not matter. There's no Archmage Antonidas in there, so why care? I think
it only allows to draw more cards with Arcane Intellect. Basically, that's what it does. I mean, have more resources to the cards being drawn by Arcane Intellect.
Good point. That's a good point. If you get Arcane Intellect, you can then double coin for something else. And now Pavel will play one Ice Block a turn for 2 more turns at the very least. Possibly finish off the game next turn, depending on what he picks up, and that should be it for the Firelands Portal coin.
He just got a
Fireball
glyph as well.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, why not? Okay, what are you thinking?
So he has.
This is your world champion, Lothar.
He has 7 mana this turn with those coins, so he can play that glyph. Get to see what he gets. I mean, what? He sees what he gets. If it's a Frostbolt, can actually play this turn, just keep it for the next turn. Still play the Ice Block. Or just play Ice Block and coin Firebolt this turn and just finish up with Firelands Portal next turn.
Yeah, it's the safest line where you're guaranteed to land the kill. So I would be tempted to take the super clean play and not play the glyph. But I mean, realistically, since you can go Firelands, coin, Fireball anyway, might as well just get the 1 damage in. Those coins are actually enabling him to get the damage.
Yeah.
On the following turn, even through True Silver Champion, right? That's the important part. Is if True Silver Champion heals him to 11, then he's still dead to Firelands Fireball.
That's about it, guys.
Curator can thin the deck, allowing for True Silver Champion draw on the next turn. If
oh wait!
Oh, there we go!
There we go!
That's the last Murloc! No justice!
That would actually win the game for StanCifka.
Eye for an eye would have just done it. I completely forgot about the Curator redraw. That would have been so. Maybe Pavel. No, Pavel has no choice but to play into it anyway. He knows unless he picks up some kind of healing. What?
And a second one.
Somebody tells me it's actually random, but I don't believe it. I'm sure there's some kind of factor affecting RNG. I've had arena runs where I'm offered the same pick exactly 3 times. There's no way I'm offered the same 3 rares 3 times in a row. Just no way. I just believe it. It's rigged. Pavel picks up the win here.
So close to get that eye for an eye. It would be so cool to see that.
And he seems to have mapped it out too. He snap played Curator, knew he had a Hydrologist left, was going to go for that secret. So he was ready. He was just ready.
Yep. All right, it's 1-1 between those players, and that will be now. What would we did deck? Shaman, Paladin. I feel like StanCifka might have just actually pick the Shaman right now. It's pretty decent against Druids. What do you think, Nox?
Druid's just the worst class for Pavel, like just overall in this series. The Shaman doesn't line up like amazingly well against it, but we've seen the matchups where Shaman just goes wide on board, kind of like a Murloc Paladin, and just takes the game through a Bloodlust. However, the fact that Purified Priest is out of the way means that that's one less bad matchup for that Druid, so he might be able to lock a win against Shaman if it runs into it. Against Paladin, though, I wouldn't give the edge to Pavel, not by even a little bit.
All right, let's go. Turn 2 Wild Growth, always helpful. And Obliterating Spirits. Well, that looks actually decent. It looks decent because StanCifka is kind of behind on board. Fortunate for him, he can go into the Rockpool Hunter or the True Silver Champion next turn, so he has a tempo play. And this is a blessing. Literally.
That I don't think could have been much better against Druid, because that 1 damage ping that the one health the Murloc would be left with is just low enough not to be worth it. Is there ever a moment where you consider going for coin True Silver instead for tempo? Because you are actually able to...
Oh wow, okay, I didn't anticipate that, because I was personally thinking about just going for the True Silver Champion.
Oh, he's gentle Megasaur.
But yeah, but he goes for the Wind Fury.
Oh my god, he can protect it with True Silver and then Megasaur.
Well...
Okay, I see where StanCifka is going with this.
I mean, Pavel needs to kill it right now.
Yeah, you gotta Wrath Hero Power this, right? You just have to.
Yeah, I agree, has to be it.
But that feels very slow. Like that's a pretty big all-in for Cifka in that case. I guess he simply did not assume that his 2/2 would live. I would have put my hopes on that 2-2 more often than I would have put it on the 6-7. When it's the only target on the board, it definitely looks like you're setting up an all-in of sorts.
And now Cifka has a really tough nut to crack.
Get that Divine Shield, I guess.
Divine Shield is not bad.
+3 health is amazing. Seems like these two guys don't respect each other's options. Wind Fury
is always
option.
something. Yeah.
Meh.
I mean, Wind Fury is great because it can give you minions for the turn 6 Spiker Steed. It will be, of course, turn 5 next turn, but that doesn't really matter much because if your opponent doesn't have a swipe, those minions will most likely live till
Living spores, you mean, right?
Yeah, the living spores.
Okay. Yes.
At least one minion should live till the next turn.
That's correct.
Just getting 6 damage to the face also seems good.
So the value that Cifka is trying to extract here is just trying to milk Pavel out of removal early on, just based on this. He committed all in on the 6-7, said if you have Wrath or Swipe, I'm good to go. I've got follow-up. You know, he's kind of bluffing, having a strong Murloc follow-up. And Pavel just said, all right, I'm guessing you probably don't have a good answer to this. The 3 health on that little 6-4 would have been a really big deal, though. If StanCifka had found it, even Divine Shield... I'm really surprised. These lines of play by both players seem a little bit greedy on both sides. If things go wrong, even a little bit, things snowball out of control.
Well, it still seems good for Cifka. The problem is that Spiker Steed will not be played till like turn 8, most likely. So he needs to grab as much tempo as possible with that Crucible champion.
Yeah, and that Megasaur is going to put in the work right
I mean,
now.
5-4 is actually pretty decent against Druids in general.
Yeah, it lines up pretty well with just the general minions they have, barring maybe like Behemoth, which is the only thing you don't line up well against. The rest is pretty sweet. And we're probably going to see Pavel here double trade into this. You need to get rid of that minion before turn 6, because if that sticks, then you're getting Spiker Steeded, and suddenly the game goes completely wrong.
Yeah, there's no way for Pavel to just kill a minion like that without sacrificing most of his hand or board.
Now the big question is, does StanCifka go for the equality plus develop 2 guys on the board, or do I play Finja? It comes down to Nourish and how much fear you are in of it. Because this could just be a tempo Fandral in many spots. And since you're able to summon Murlocs, you're also developing counter tempos to the point where you're probably able to kind of mitigate the tempo that this Fandral is generating just by having the 2-4. You're killing Behemoths, you're killing leftover Ayas after his Spiker Steed. Everything kind of works out, so...
Yeah, I like the Finja, to be honest. I felt it was like the correct decision here because it allows you to give you so much potential value. And look at that, he even has a Megazord. The problem is, now this is the turn when you should kill the Fandral.
You could make... I mean, there's an Aldor play that goes like... Equality, buff your Finja with the Rockpool Hunter, Aldor, and then, you know, you can kill with a True Silver on the Fandral. But then you don't get to play Steed or your Megasaur buff on all your Murlocs. So you get a ton of Murlocs here. Like, unless the guy has a swipe, you're probably going to be able to protect all your guys. If you give them stealth, can't be targeted by spells or hero powers, +3 health, name it. Alright, I guess we're making 1-1s.
Okay, I have to say it. Stan has some really unfortunate adapts so far.
Yeah. Not what he was looking for at all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah. And now with this turn, Auctioneer into potentially Wrath, which can give him Innervate to play Nourish.
Do you start with Nourish to get those Innervates out? Because then you can play Auctioneer and to Innervate Jade Idols, right?
I don't know, man.
No Innervates. Never mind. It's all a moot point. We're gonna be pushing those 1-1s out. We've got a swipe. We're ready to go here if you're Pavel. Nothing scares you.
Maybe that's an Innervate. Oh, there it is. But now you need to go into the swipe, because that's your plan. So you can't really play Auctioneer. But I feel like you can always go for the Jade Idols anyway, so we'll use Innervate for that. Just to get the two Jade Idols on the board right now.
StanCifka just got the worst end of the adapt variants for the sake of these Merle. Not the worst, like there are worse things, but this was definitely on the bad side of them. Just based on what we saw here. I mean, it's gonna take a lot of work for him to catch up. He can go for Spiker Steed, you know, help him climb back onto the board one little minion at a time. It challenges everything that Pavel does quite nicely for now. Maybe the rag sticks, and then he's able to win.
Still looks tough, man.
Let me think.
I agree, but it's the only line open to him, and he's gonna spot it, gonna just take it while he still can. Problem with Druid is you can't assume you're gonna kill them soon because Feral Rages and Earthen Scales are in the deck, and has 2-ofs.
Oh,
so
man.
You have to just jam it if you want to win. There we go.
Well, now the cycle will begin, and you will most likely end up with Druid on 30 HP in a few seconds. Maybe not
Sure
on
looks
30.
that way. Oh, it's gonna be pretty high up, unless he just hits idols one after the other. Oh, like this. Could keep because he keeps shuffling idols in, so it increases the odds of him picking them up every single time he draws. So the armor gain's, you know, gonna be mitigated by the fact that it can be at most whatever the Jade on board is.
Oh, look at that. Jade Idol into Jade Idol.
Into Jade Idol.
Stan has access to equality, but he misses the crucial part, which is consecration. But with the ability to have 3 1-offs on board, he's actually able to kill almost everything.
Not enough mana to get Rag out, unfortunately. A little bit off the mana count needed.
That's
Equality
a
into
decent...
Sunkeeper. Does that even help out?
I feel like it's a hero power Tarim, because it's basically the same outcome, but you get to have a bigger board because of that.
Yeah, and you get to protect. Like the Tarium just basically equalizes in your favor, and you can set up a lethal or force the opponent to trade. Like this Fandral, even though on paper you're thinking, oh, you gotta kill Fandral, it's already gotten 2 nourishes.
Yeah.
like what the hell else do you want this thing to do?
This is just way beyond repair anyway, so that doesn't really matter.
Exactly.
What is actually true here is that the Fandral makes it less possible to draw Feral Rages. So
Because
I
of
like...
Jade Idols? Okay.
Yes. So Pavel has to sacrifice his Fandral first. Because he needs to get to draw that. Like 100%. Earthen Scales and Feral Rages.
He's
So
got
he-
Jade Behemoth here if he wants them. He's got Primordial Drake to soften up the board even more and set up a huge taunt, which against Paladin usually is enough to keep you in the game. Though again, we are looking at the same situation, not the exact same, but a similar situation to that we looked at just recently. And now that's going to give the Ragnaros an opening if he wants to use it.
Nah. Going wide seems like a better choice. And a second Tarim. Whoa!
I think he might be doing it against
That is
all odds.
so huge.
That equality is going to be able to clean up any taunt that comes in the way. If Jade Behemoth shows up, it's not going to be sufficient. The Tarim and equality are checking any big minion.
And another Jade Idol, and who knew you wouldn't be really needing that?
Fandral, you went a bit overboard, man. Sorry.
Yeah,
We like
where's
you,
the-
but you
Where's the
exaggerated.
second Feral Rage? One of the 2 actually Feral Rages, and that second Earthen Scales.
Cifka's just gonna do it. He's got it. He's got it with the Tarim. He's gonna lock out that taunt and then push for 9 damage. Can get equality without even relying on any of that. Either way, there's a tilt potential to Stonehill Defender. Not that you're gonna tilt Pavel. You know, I don't think that's happening. But if you were to, this would
What
be the
a
best way to
game.
do it.
For a second,
Yeah.
I thought that Stan just lost it, you know? Like the 10 when Fandral and Auctioneer went off was really spelling doom for Stan, but Stan did retain his cold blood, although he's not playing a rogue, and manages to pull back in a really impressive fashion. The
I
plan
really
was there.
like the fact that he let the Fandral live, recognizing it's no longer a threat. Where the damage that could have gone into that Fandral during the course of the game would have probably lost him that game.
Yes, exactly.
And also the fact that Jade Isle generated 1,000 Jades. When the Earthen Scales came down, we knew it was probably going to be the only source of armor for the entire game, and that was the crucial point that StanCifka capitalized on.
All right,
Wow.
well, it's 2-1 for StanCifka. Now he's left with this Shaman. Let's see
So
how that
Taunt
goes.
Warrior's coming out. Taunt Warrior, probably just as good as, honestly, the Druid against that Shaman deck. I mean, maybe Warrior's just got a big... Like, the fact that he's got the Brawl in that deck probably gives him a better reason to run the Warrior in first, but... We'll see. So, Hammer of Twilight. Seeing coin hero power here, I would not be surprised. Wow.
Yeah, I like it.
Feels like old school.
Yeah. But I like it a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, sets up very nicely for a turn 3 Flame Tongue. You've seen these board states repeatedly. They're pretty common, actually, when you play this deck enough. Well, you have to get your Jade Claws out, so it staggers your ability to play anything else. So you're forced to coin out hero power to get maximum Flame Tongue value.
Mm-hmm. Pavel recognizes that he needs to get on board as soon as possible, picks over an Infested Tauren instead of the Dying Hatchling, and that's actually a very good decision because he needs to battle that Shaman as soon as possible. Unfortunately for Stan, now he's left with no board and just Flanking Totem, which doesn't really benefit him for the next turn, but at the same time what he can do is play Hero Power and go for the second Jade Claws. Seems like the obvious turn. Default was actually not bad in this situation.
I don't mind Stonehill. I mean, I guess with 4 mana you'd play Jade Claws, because you're reducing the cost of your guy. The thing is, this 1/4 is kind of awful, like no joke. I think it's just kind of bad. But as a 3/4, it's so much better all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you're basically treating the Stonehill Defender as a spider tank that also draws you a card, which
In this
pretty
case,
valuable here.
in this case has insane synergy as well. I really like what StanCifka did here. Went for the tempo play, although the cards were obviously weaker than the other discovery options, but I like that he recognized the fact that he just needs to get the board control as soon as possible and get the benefit of that Flaming Totem he committed to on turn 3.
I mean, basically set up a Flame Tongue since turn 1, right? So he's
Yeah.
been on this game plan forever. He just wants to milk this Flame Tongue for all its value. There's no shield slam in the Warriors anymore. So the worst you're going to run into is slam into Ghoul on turn 5, is oftentimes what's going to happen.
And
I
not,
guess there's the fringe case of like Ravaging Ghoul, Sleep with the Fishes. But if this happens here, that's fine for you. It's such a low value play.
yeah, it's definitely okay. And he has still a good follow-up. The Twilight Hammer is actually impressive. Wow! A brawl on this board. That's actually just 2 for 2. That's
And that's
actually
gonna
2
give
for 2.
Cifka, yeah. Cifka's just happy. But look at how much respect you have to give Flame Tongue Totem. Just look at how this panned out. And now there's
Very
the
well
Flame
played by
Tongue
Stan.
plus Thing from Below pot potential that's also open. If Cifka wants to go for it. There's Jade Claw's Flame Tongue, there's Jade Claw's Hero Power, there's Hero Power, Thing from Below. The widest you go, the better you are. Don't damage anything, don't lose your board. You're gonna win.
I like the decision here. There's those small choices. Hero Power first, instead of Jade Claw first, because that sets up a better Flame Tongue Totem for your Stonehill Defender, because then your Taunt Totem gets the upgrade on damage as well. In this case, he just goes, because he doesn't have to have it, he doesn't need a trade right now. He goes for the middle pack, and I like that as well, because both minions have Taunt. So they need to get dealt with first. Really well done by Cifka.
And now he's gonna start to get worried about, you know, the possibility of Drake, the possibility of like the sleep with the fishes. Those are getting increasingly possible and likely as turns pass.
This is why he sacrificed all those 2 HP minions and will develop minions that have more than 2 HP. Very nicely done by Stan, playing around all those possible outs by Pavel. The only one that he can't really play around is something that you mentioned before, which is Ghoul and Sleep with the Fishes. But I guess that's kind of fine.
I think you have to just accept that that's a possibility. For that reason, if you play the thing, if you expect that to happen, Thing from Below lives through it. So in that case, it would be like a compromise. But since you're already so wide on board, and you're expecting mostly a Drake after Curator, it's so common, you might just have a good incentive to wait. So Pavel is probably going to go for the Drake into Whirlwind Drake to just clean up shop. Vulnerable to stuff like Bloodlust or some kind of devolve on the Drake where everything goes through. I mean, that's a lot of damage coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we might just see that devolve now. I mean, that damage push is insane against this type of warrior.
But at the same time, it's a 7-drop that will create the devolve. So I wouldn't actually mind just using the weapon here and the Sunhill Defender, you know?
Spell damage totem would have changed his mind. He would have gone for the Jade, but I guess the weapon pushes enough damage with the Aya Blackpaw.
I like
Makes
this
you a bit more resilient.
Man, I'm really impressed by Stan here. So well played. From turn 1, sets up a plan and executed it perfectly so far. Really well done.
Double Ghoul Execute. Whirlwind into Ghoul Execute can deal with a 5/5. Lets you develop a Dirty Rat on the back of it if you feel like that's necessary, for whatever reason. Ghoul Execute's not even that terrible. Then you can play a 5-drop. Sorry, the 2/2 drops, the Dirty Rats. You get punished by Fire Elemental somewhat.
So many choices.
And Kalimos, right? But he has no idea.
There's no Elemental plate, right?
But yeah, I like Dirty Rat to be honest this time. If something big happens, you still have the execute. If not, then you just execute the Thing from Below.
I think we're just gonna see double Dirty Rat. I mean, it depends what the outcome is. Maybe sometimes he just says, "Oh, whoa, chill." Or the more big stuff comes out, the more he has to play Dirty Rats.
But look at that, the devolve will most likely end the game. Yep,
And it does.
That's about it.
So
Devolve
takes
the
it.
finisher. I mean, what's even funnier is the fact that the Dirty Rats are the best possible targets for devolve because they change a 2/6 minion into a measly 1-drop. So that's actually insane. Congrats to StanCifka. He, well, let's say, just crushed Pavel, right? Those games were really insanely well played by him. And that means StanCifka is 6-1 in this Group B. And that doesn't really change up anything for him. He still advances to the LAN finals directly. But it's nice to see 3 players actually have the same score, which is 6-1. Nyman, RDU, and now StanCifka, all with the same score.
Yeah, and we've got Pavel now. Losing this game means that Kolento has solidified his 4th place in Group B. No worries for him of being knocked down a peg by Pavel winning. No longer is he going to have to worry about that. So we'll see him tomorrow play in the last chance qualifier, I believe. So that's a pretty good news for Kolento if he's even watching at this point. Hi, Kolento. You're going to be making it to tomorrow. So that being said, guys, we'll be taking a short break before we come back for the potentially last match of the day. Bonnie Hopper versus Orange. This could determine the fate of many a player in the event. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.